One psychologist chose a few students to study in their library. If, while studying, they got bored, the students would then read one more page or do one more problem before they were allowed to leave. On the second day, the students would repeat the process but add on 2 pages or 2 problems, and so on to the third day and the day after that. Studying is key to many students in order to succeed. Throughout the duration of this video, you will learn tips to be more productive during your sessions. Sit back and enjoy how to be more efficient while studying. Each individual has his or her own study habits that may or may not work for them. For instance, when a test is announced, I typically start a routine. I get home but don't begin my homework right away. I typically eat something, go on my laptop, or watch TV. Once 6 p.m. hits, I get to my desk and get out my notes to briefly skim over them. I then quiz myself by covering up one side of my notes and find out what topics I need to review over. Every night I study for 20 minutes, except on Saturdays. Then on Sunday, I come back to reevaluate what I processed and what I didn't. Finally, I do a quick review of the material the morning of the test to retrieve information from my long-term to my short-term. Although my study habits work for me, they might not necessarily work for others. Some study habits are proven to be efficient though. I'm going to take you through a few ideal places to study, times to study, and ways to study. Where you study can highly affect how well you encode information, or allow input to be converted into construct that can be stored within the brain. Avoid places with distractions. For example, cafeterias during lunch, living rooms with noisy family members or TVs, and classrooms while the teacher is talking are a few places that are not ideal study places. Aim to study in places like the school library, study halls, or at your desk in your room. Make sure that wherever it is though, it is quiet without distractions. Also, bring what you need so you don't have to keep running back and forth between locations, and leave everything you don't need at home. If your notes aren't on your iPad or your laptop, leave them at home. When to study can also be crucial to how well information is stored in your brain. Many psychologists suggest that students should space their studying over several intervals rather than cramming it all into one session. Also, avoid studying similar topics back to back. For instance, if you have Spanish homework and you need to study for a French test, try to push a subject in between studying and doing that homework. If not, you might mix the languages together, giving you misinformation and resulting in bad test scores. What state you study in is an important factor as well to how well you do study. Try to think positively while studying. Do not doubt yourself. Also, do not do late night studying. Wait until the morning if you return home late and you do not have enough time to study. By studying in a tired state, it might affect how well the information encodes in your storage, or where you store input in short-term or long-term memory. By being more awake, you can easily pick out what is important to store and what is not. Studying with a group also may help you store information better, for it outlines the important information that everyone else is thinking. However, make sure the people actually aim to study and not just to distract you. Finally, the most important factor in studying ideally is how you study. In order to improve your memory storage, it is critical that you rehearse, or practice. By rehearsing, you can move information from short-term memory into long-term memory to use on a later date. By rehearsing, it also improves retrieving that information from long-term to short-term in order to use on the test. Similar to retrieval, or the ability of obtaining information that has been stored, organization is key. Make sure you keep your sections of notes separated and all your note cards are together into chapters. If the technique is useful for you, note cards are a great idea for retrieval of information. By not being able to see the answer in the back, you will rehearse that information until you know what it is, over-rehearse, and retrieve it more simply when you take the test. If you're having troubles actually encoding the information, try using mnemonic devices to form nonsense sentences for remembering a string of words, like my very educated mother just served us nachos, or Mercury, Venus, what's that one planet that starts with me? Oh, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Sorry, Pluto. It is also highly suggested chunking information closely related into groups to help encode information better. If retrieval is an issue for you, try categorizing subjects into multiple files. For example, if you have to remember Ivan Pavlov in this picture, you might easily put him into files such as psychology, teams who beat Michigan, Russia, conditioning, and thing Nikki is bitter about. The more categories you file him into, the easier it will be to retrieve that information. I do hope you take some of these ideal study habits into consideration. But what can teachers do to help us encode, retrieve, and store that information better? Many students find it beneficial if a teacher explains what types of questions are on the test. Perhaps if it's multiple choice, which would be recognition, or essays, which would be retrieval. Oftentimes, if a teacher provides a study guide or a quick overview of the section mentioned on the test, it helps us to know what to study. If 10 minutes at the end of class was offered to students to study, it might also help those who simply don't have enough time to study at home due to a busy outside schedule. Finally, similar to note cards, it may be helpful if a teacher creates Kahoots or Quizlets to help us on our retrieval, and also to make studying a little bit more fun. Although studying can often be seen as a struggle by students, it's honestly not that difficult. If you have the correct study techniques, the right state of mind, and a good support system, studying can be a stress lifted off your shoulders and a good grade on a test. But just remember, study hard, realize that you're smarter than you think, and put the phones away. It's really not going to help you. Thank you so much to Psych Central, Megan Cushion, Hamza Dasuki, and everyone else who contributed to this video. Also thank you to Mr. Stevens for giving this wonderful assignment, and I really do wish all of you guys luck in your study habits.
Kind of need the buffer for you, though.
Oh, cool. There's no way you're putting all that in your mouth.
Uh-huh.
Damn.